Welcome back to the Jeff Santos Show on RevolutionRadioNetwork.com. You know, we do a lot of stories over these last couple of days, and a lot of them are happy stories. This one necessarily isn't sad, but it's tragic. The gentleman standing to my right is Don Siegelman. He's the former governor of the great state of Alabama. He went to jail, not for anything that he did, but because of a Republican cronyism, because of an opponent who was a friend of Karl Rove, working in the opposition candidate's campaign, decided to make stuff up. And today, Don Siegelman is out of jail, but faces more tests. He joins me right now. Governor, let me first of all say, as an American, I apologize for what you've had to go through over these last few years. For those people who haven't heard about your story, tell me what has happened to your life over the last several years.
Well, trying to put this in digestible pieces. When I was running for re-election as governor, after bringing in 5 automobile plants, building 1,000 new schools, and doing all kinds of putting people to work and during tough times, and
this was on 2002, correct?
2002. I was looking toward the 2004 presidential race. Conservative business journals like the Kiplinger Letter started talking about Don Siegelman as a dark horse candidate for president in 2004. I had previously endorsed Al Gore when he was running in 2002. Karl Rove's client began an investigation immediately thereafter. When I was running for re-election in 2002, Karl Rove's best friend's wife, who had been confirmed as a U.S. attorney, immediately started an investigation, while her husband, Karl Rove's best friend, was managing my opponent's campaign. So my opponent's...
A little conflict of interest.
My opponent's campaign manager's wife was a U.S. attorney. I won the election, despite being smeared, despite George Bush coming in twice, Dick Cheney, Laura Bush. The whole group came in to work against me. I was declared the winner the night of the election, but at midnight, when the lights in the courthouse went out, some people went into the basement, took 5,000 of my votes, gave them to my opponent. The next day, Karl Rove's client, the Attorney General, said anybody that touches those ballots are going to jail. I just wanted a recount of this one precinct. Karl Rove's client then took the ballots to Montgomery and illegally, contrary to Alabama law, certified my opponent, Karl Rove's client, as the winner. And it was just too much to challenge, because the Alabama Supreme Court is Republican. I knew if we went the way Al Gore went, we'd end up in the U.S. Supreme Court. We wouldn't win there. So I said, Alabamians, I'm going to live to fight another day. And with that, Karl Rove set off a series of actions in the Department of Justice, both in Washington and in Alabama, that resulted in my indictment and ultimately my conviction. I was brought to trial 1 month before my election in 2006, again by Karl Rove's best friend's wife, again while her husband was running my opponent's campaign. And I was convicted on the sole testimony of a felon that the prosecution had interviewed, according to 60 Minutes, had interviewed him 70 times and convinced him to lie, and so hence I was convicted. But, the tables turned in a sense, because 113 former state attorney generals came to my rescue and petitioned the U.S. Supreme Court. Constitutional law professors from around the country said this is wrong, this has never been a crime in America, and they petitioned the Supreme Court. And recently, the Pulitzer Prize-winning conservative columnist George Will wrote a column in the Washington Post calling on the Supreme Court to clarify this decision in my case, because it opens the door, as all of these groups said, George Will, the professors, and the attorneys general, to spacious discretion for prosecutors to pick and choose the people they want to silence. And of course, that is exactly what Karl Rove did. And so I find myself here at the Democratic Convention, now going up to my friends, and you know what's wonderful? I just saw Barney Frank, and Barney, first thing he does, he shakes his head and said, you know, you have gotten such a raw deal. You know, Ted Strickland and just Steny Hoyer and Linda Sanchez, others have come to my...
Seen what has happened.
Yeah, Robert Wexler, I saw him this evening, and just a bunch of my old friends have really rallying around not me, but it's a cause for freedom. Not, yeah, sure, my freedom. I'm interested in it. My children want to get me out of prison. But this is so much bigger than me. If they can do this and get away with it, Karl Rove today in this convention hall, almost in this very spot, shook his finger at my daughter and told her, tell your dad to stop lying about me or I'm going to sue him. Karl Rove in this very convention, in that spot right there, had the audacity to shake his finger at my daughter and tell her to quit lying. We have sworn testimony that Karl Rove was at the root of this prosecution. And so, I am, my spirits are high, I am undaunted, I know I'm going to prison, but I also know that my children are going to be my voice when I have no voice, and I know that my friends are going to speak up for me when the time is right.
So where are we in terms of your ability to get out of this? What has to be done? When do you start prison? What is the timetable here? And what can Americans do who see this injustice, who find out about this injustice?
The main thing that people can do is go to the website that my daughter has created. It's donsiegelman.org, and go to Free Don and push the button and sign the petition to the president. You know, we know the president is not going to be swayed by signatures, but if enough people express their outrage and concern over this case, and not just this case, but their concern over the Department of Justice being hijacked and used as a political weapon by Karl Rove, and ask the president to restore justice and to preserve our democracy. Yes, I want to be free. Yes, I don't want to be in prison. Yes, I'd like my voice back so you and I could have this conversation. But next week at this time, my voice will be silenced. I will not be able to speak. And so I'm asking all Americans to go to donsiegelman.org, sign the petition, write a letter to the president, ask him to pardon me, to commute my sentence, to let me out of prison, but more importantly, to balance the scales of justice. I know President Obama's heart is right on this issue, because I know what he tried to do as a state senator and U.S. senator in terms of criminal justice reform. And but I want to be out so I can advocate, not for myself at that point, but for others.
And of course, people who know this, and people who don't know this, they should read it on it. Karl Rove went after several attorney generals across the country, tried to look at ways in which he could arrest people. He's been well known in terms of the vote issue. He's well known in Florida and what happened with that election, stealing it from Al Gore. So I'm hoping that people realize what is going on, that your case is one that has opened a lot of eyes, and we need to obviously continue to keep them open. Governor, I can only again apologize as a citizen for not seeing and trying to make good on trying to stop those individuals who have put you behind bars. I wish you nothing but the best, and I thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you. Well, I hope I can count on you to be my voice when I have no voice.
We'll continue to keep this story going.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.